Disclaimer: I doesn't claim any of the arts. All the picture shown belongs to the respective artist and company. If you are original owner and want me to remove the video, I will do it immediately. Just send me an email to inform me. And if you liked my content, please subscribe to the channel. The chapter opens in the dimly lit dungeon, where moments ago a furious drake had locked eyes with Theo, its anger palpable. With a thunderous roar echoing through the chamber, Theo braced himself for another fierce assault. However, to his astonishment, the mighty beast suddenly collapsed, lifeless on the ground. The system's voice rang out, congratulating him for successfully slaying the lesser drake. As he withdrew his sword from the creature's reverse scale, Theo reflected on how narrowly he had escaped defeat when the drake thrashed wildly after he struck its vulnerable spot. Exhausted and relieved, he laid back against the drake's body, grateful that it had exhausted itself in battle. He reaffirmed to himself that indeed, the reverse scale was its weak point. The system displayed his rewards: a lesser drake's tooth and claw. The descriptions revealed that the tooth was a valuable material for crafting weapons to enhance durability, while the claw could sharpen blades. Taken aback by the usefulness of these items and glanced at his battered sword, contemplating using the materials to repair it. This sword was a cherished gift from his mother, and it had suffered greatly during the fight. Suddenly, another notification appeared. He had obtained the lesser drake's fear skill, rank D with 1% mastery. This skill granted him the power to unleash a unique draconic killing intent that could instill fear in weaker foes nearby. Theo was astonished. Such dragon-killing intent was a rare power reserved for only a select few. Excited yet uncertain about its usefulness in a place like Ragnar, where powerful beings roamed freely, he stored the tooth and claw along with his sword in his inventory before exiting the boss room. As he stepped out of the dungeon, relief washed over him. He had completed his quest. The system congratulated him once more and awarded him for clearing Scenario Quest Number 1, a nest compass. This peculiar compass was categorized as a miscellaneous item and would guide its holder toward a nest. Theo stared at this strange object, pondering its significance and whether it would lead to his next quest. Unsure of its immediate use, he tucked it away in his inventory for safekeeping as he trudged toward his room, each step feeling heavier due to exhaustion. Suddenly, a maid rushed toward him, her voice filled with urgency as she shouted that something critical had occurred. Frustration bubbled within him. All he wanted was to rest. Yet he turned to face her as she gasped at his disheveled state and blood-stained clothes. Concerned, she asked where he had been, but Theo brushed her off dismissively and inquired about the commotion. The maid panicked and explained that a brawl was erupting at training ground number 4. Irritated but compelled to act, Theo made his way to the training ground without hesitation. Once there, he activated his newly acquired Lesser Drake's Fear skill, unleashing a wave of draconic killing intent that swept through the crowd like a storm. Those weaker than him were instantly overwhelmed and collapsed under the weight of his presence. Among them was Hulkus, who noticed Theo's newfound power and grinned with satisfaction. Clearly impressed, Hulkus charged at Theo with laughter, eager to test their strength. "I knew you would be fun," Hulkus declared as he swung his massive sword with all his might. But Theo effortlessly deflected Hulkus's attack with a swift upward motion of his own blade, sending Hulkus flying backward in shock. The sheer force of Theo's counterattack stunned everyone present, Remington and Ray included, as they witnessed Hulkus struggle to comprehend how easily his strike had been repelled. Hulkus staggered back to his feet and furiously shouted that there was no way he would let this stand. Known as Black Bear Hulkus among his peers, one of the 4 hounds of the North, he had always been seen as one of the weakest due to his undeveloped skills and lack of cleverness. He swung down again with all his might, daring Theo to block it. Theo braced himself. Hulkus had never been outmatched in strength among their clan members. He blocked Hulkus's sword with precision and deflected it downward before executing his signature single flash technique that sliced through Hulkus's defenses. A proud smile spread across Theo's face as he realized he had not only parried Hulkus's powerful blow, but also countered it effectively. Hulkus coughed up blood before collapsing unconscious on the ground, a sight that made Theo sigh in realization. He had inadvertently used all his strength in that swing, but felt relieved that it was Hulkus who lay defeated, a man known for his toughness rather than frailty. Meanwhile, Sybil watched in shock, but soon erupted into cheers along with other followers who celebrated their young master's victory over Black Bear Hulkus with just one strike. Their shouts echoed through the training ground even as Theo attempted to explain that Hulkus was still alive. Just then, Theo heard a crack. Half of his sword shattered and fell clattering to the ground beneath him. Shock coursed through him as panic set in. His mother's treasured gift lay ruined. Yet Sybil shouted in admiration for him breaking such a weapon with one blow. Irritated by Sybil's enthusiasm amid his distress over losing such an important item, Theo snapped back at him, while Remington and Ray observed from afar in stunned silence. Ray gazed at Theo quietly, recalling a childhood memory when he had approached her on a cold day asking if she wasn't freezing while placing his scarf around her shoulders, a gesture meant to warm her up, before promising to take her home once the snow stopped falling. As nostalgia washed over her like warmth from sunlight breaking through clouds, Ray turned away from those memories with a soft smile while leaving Remington bewildered by this unexpected display from Ray Ragnar. Back at the palace later on, Theo found himself amidst celebration wearing an oversized hat while blushing shyly as maids joyfully congratulated him on earning the title Luster Tiger. They praised him for working so hard over time and encouraged him to maintain momentum leading up to the awakening ceremony. Cecilia, his mother, proudly placed an enormous bowl of food before him, while insisting he try various dishes including abalone delicacies alongside chicken meat raised solely on acorns from western Laxaria Desert. Though desperate to stop her enthusiastic feeding spree due to feeling full already, he couldn't help but feel sadness wash over him when recalling seeing her lifeless body in past memories. After finishing their meal together later on, Theo revealed what remained of his broken sword to Cecilia, who gasped in shock while stuttering questions about its condition. Nervously clutching his full stomach off to one side, he explained how it had shattered during training, apologizing profusely for ruining such an invaluable gift given on his birthday. To Theo's surprise, though, Cecilia erupted into anger, cursing an old woman responsible for claiming that because this sword was forged from white snow steel mixed with ebony steelwood, it would never break. Confused by her outburst, Theo asked if she meant ebony steelwood sourced from southern Gaia jungle. Cecilia confirmed while elaborating further about how this old woman swore only rare materials were used, but clearly lied since it broke so easily. Realizing how high quality yet valuable this sword truly was, Theo wondered where exactly Cecilia acquired such craftsmanship. Still furious, Cecilia insisted they confront this old woman, demanding an explanation, while declaring she better replace it with something perfect for her beloved son. Assuring her that everything would be fine using another blade instead, Cecilia disagreed adamantly, stating they needed meticulous care now that others recognized his worth, especially with awakening ceremony approaching fast. With determination shining brightly within her eyes, she refused letting him attend, carrying around shabby remnants of what used to be an exceptional weapon. Sighing yet smiling fondly at her fierce resolve, Theo prepared himself as she announced they should go right away. Picking up what remained of broken steel resting atop table, Theo asked where they were headed next. With confidence radiating from Cecilia, she replied enthusiastically, saying they were off towards Wintera's finest craftsmanship, the Basque Workshop. Thank you for watching my video so far. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. The Basque Workshop, one of the 3 grand centers for crafting weapons in the icy realm of Wintera, was famous not just for its colossal size that rivaled a factory, but for another remarkable reason. The most striking feature of this workshop was its master, a figure deemed special rank by the intelligence agency, and a blacksmith who bore the esteemed title of Master Craftsman, a title shared by only 2 other artisans of Ragnar. This legendary figure was known by fearsome nicknames: the Elf of Capitalism Incarnate and the Demon Craftsman Kyrson. Theo could hardly believe he was about to meet such a living legend, and pondered how his mother knew this demon craftsman. To his astonishment, Cecilia casually asked Kirsten if she was still smoking and referred to her as mother, leaving Theo both shocked and bewildered. Kirsten swiftly rejected the term, reminding Cecilia that their bond had ended the day she chose to flee. This revelation left Theo reeling. He had always thought his mother was an orphan with no family left. The realization that Kirsten, a high elf, was his grandmother made him understand he was a quarter elf himself, which might explain his striking appearance. Kirsten turned to Cecilia and inquired what brought their dear customer to the workshop when she had never visited before. Without hesitation, Cecilia tossed the broken sword to Kirsten, declaring she was there to return a faulty product. Kirsten caught the sword, visibly irritated, and retorted how Cecilia could dare label a sword forged by her as defective. However, her annoyance quickly shifted to shock as she examined the ruined weapon. Unfazed, Cecilia pressed Kirsten, asking if it wasn't defective. Then what was it? Meanwhile, Theo stood aside, still grappling with the fact that he was part elf. Kirsten then asked who had wielded the sword. Cecilia pointed to her son, and Kirsten gestured toward Theo, asking if it was the boy behind her. Cecilia quickly corrected her, instructing Kirsten to be careful with her words and reminding her that Theo was a genius destined to rule over Ragnar one day. Theo respectfully introduced himself to Kirsten, expressing his honor at meeting the famed master of the Basque workshop. Still fixated on the broken sword, Kirsten acknowledged having heard of him and praised Cecilia for raising such a remarkable son. She then turned back to the matter at hand and asked Theo directly if he had indeed wielded the sword. When he confirmed this, Cecilia insisted again that the sword was defective. Kirsten remained calm and stated that explaining everything would take time and invited them to follow her inside for further discussion. As they followed Kirsten into the depths of the workshop, Theo asked his mother how she knew the demon craftsman. Cecilia replied, just as he had heard. When he asked if Kirsten was truly her mother, she clarified that although she seldom spoke of her past, Kirsten had been her foster mother for a brief 6 months. This new information struck Theo hard. Kirsten wasn't his grandmother, but rather his mother's foster parent, meaning he wasn't half-elf after all. Cecilia added that Kirsten had always been drawn to beauty in all forms, jewels, music, theater, or even people, which is why she had taken Cecilia in as her foster daughter. She speculated that Kirsten must have liked her quite a lot. At this point, Kirsten interjected sharply, cutting off their conversation by stating they had talked enough about the past and there was no reason to dwell on it. However, Cecilia teased Kirsten playfully about not truly feeling that way, which further irritated. Curious about how his mother ended up leaving that place, Theo prompted Cecilia for an answer, just as she began to respond when Kirsten interrupted again. She stated that Cecilia had left on her own accord to become the wife of the Ragnar clan head. Kirsten expressed disbelief at Cecilia's choice to go to such a wretched place, but acknowledged it was impressive that she survived there as long as she did. In response, Cecilia shrugged off the comment, saying that the clan head was simply too handsome and manly and loved her dearly. Kirsten scoffed at this notion and retorted that despite running away from home, Cecilia had returned last year asking her to forge a sword as a gift for her son, something she deemed shamelessness. This prompted Cecilia to shout at Khan to stop. Turning back to Kirsten, she questioned why she would say such things in front of Theo. Kirsten merely replied with a question of whether she was wrong about it, which made Theo smile. He had never seen his mother speak so boldly before. As he looked at his mother now, realizing how little he knew about her past life due to his obsession with clan matters in his previous existence, he noticed how genuinely concerned the demon craftsman seemed for her well-being, a thought provoking why his mother kept quiet about this connection before. Abruptly halting their walk, Kirsten announced they had arrived at a room she pointed out as her master's office. Confused by their deep entry into the workshop's heart, Cecilia demanded that Kirsten provide Theo with the best sword ever as compensation for her earlier mistake. Ignoring her request entirely, Kirsten told Cecilia to wait outside while gesturing for Theo to enter with her, leaving Cecilia stunned and confused. Once inside, Kirsten glared at Theo while Cecilia called out from outside. Speaking plainly now, Kirsten asked Theo if he possessed a relic from the primordial dragon. Confused yet intrigued by this question, Theo asked if she meant the ancestor of the guardian dragon protecting Ragnar clan, recounting tales he'd heard about how their progenitors scattered treasures across Winterra for their descendants. Kirsten then revealed the broken sword again and accused him of feigning ignorance, shocking him further, showing him what remained of it. She questioned how it could end up in such disrepair if he truly didn't possess any relics, since she'd poured all her heart into forging it. There was no way it would break, unless it clashed with something powerful like a relic. With tears glistening in her eyes again, asking if he understood how much effort went into creating that sword, Theo apologized, knowing full well it had only been damaged during his battle with a drake, but couldn't grasp why Kirsten kept bringing up relics. Turning away from him abruptly, now frustrated herself, she said they should forget about it altogether, stating it would be faster for him just to see instead. Producing an object bound in chains, asking what he saw within its confines? As Theo examined it closely, noting its glow akin to what he'd seen from Camellia Palace's dungeon door, Kirsten admitted sensing nothing from it herself, yet felt something from him upon seeing his reaction, indicating he noticed something extraordinary within its depths. Frustrated, explaining she'd attempted countless times trying opening it without success, until now, placing this object down before him, declaring it belonged to none other than primordial dragon itself. Kirsten elaborated on ancient myths where long ago one such dragon removed one of its fangs, forging it into an exquisite blade known as the White Moonlight blade. She told Theo if he could break free its seal, retrieving this legendary weapon, she'd grant him ownership over that very blade. Surprised by such an offer yet wary, Kirsten warned him risking life itself could happen during this endeavor. Did he wish to attempt? For a moment silence enveloped them, until finally, filled with determination, declared aloud, "That sword is mine." At that moment before him appeared an interface displaying scenario quest number 2, the path of the successor. His mission? To be chosen by none other than primordial dragon's relic, the White Moonlight blade. And with that, this chapter ends. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Support this channel by liking this video and subscribing the channel. And if you want me to recap another manhwa or manga, write its name on comment section. And if want to know what happened in previous chapter, you can watch them in this YouTube channel.